Hello everyone, welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Click a Big Creator. Today we have Samantha Soysa with us. Samantha is a senior law practitioner in Sri Lanka and a barrister of Lincoln's Inn at UK. She holds an LLB degree with honors from Warwick and has completed her LLM, specializing in banking and finance law from the University of London. She has been in practice for over 15 years and specializes in corporate, company, and IT law matters as well. She's a strong advocate of data protection and privacy and is a voice on the importance of having comprehensive privacy laws. That's absolutely amazing. She has been featured as a guest columnist in the Daily FT newspaper of Sri Lanka, where she has written on topics ranging from data protection, electronic contracts, to money laundering as well. Samantha currently serves as a delegate of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and the assistant treasurer of the Associate of Corporate Lawyers, that is ACL. Apart from being a law enthusiast, she also loves languages, learning and teaching at the same time. I just got to know that she's currently teaching French and is learning Tamil. Hello, Samantha. How are you?
Hi, Varsi. I'm good.
Such an amazing, introduction and bio that you were able to, because of the journey that you have had, I was able to put so much together for you. But I'm sure there's a lot more to it, a lot more which is unsaid. So please brief us about your journey as a legal professional so far.
My journey as a legal professional started before I was 10, because since I was about 8, I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. So law is not only my profession, but it is my passion. And in my school career, I was very involved in sort of debating, inter-house debates and also inter-school debates. So when I started debating, I realized that I really loved debating. And I knew that law was definitely for me. Also, I remember as a teenager growing up, and Sri Lanka is a developing country, and there's so much poverty and injustice. So the reason I also wanted to study law and to practice law was to actually defend the oppressed and fight for justice. So I had this very romantic idea of being a lawyer. And like every lawyer, you come into practice and you're just like, boom, the entire romantic story of, that you see on TV is kind of blasted. But that's where I came from. That's the beginning of my story. I went to an international school in Sri Lanka. It's like a private school. And I was very fortunate that I was able to go to the University of Warwick in the UK. I got my LLB from there. And then since I was keen to be a barrister, I mean, in Sri Lanka, we are called attorneys at law. There isn't a distinction like the UK, but the barristers in the UK is recognized here. And that training that I got from BPP Law School, I was attached to Lincoln's Inn, was amazing. We are taught practically like negotiation, advocacy, cross-examination, client conferencing. And I really believe that the training I got in the UK was something that really made a difference in the way I approach law. Actually, it made all the difference. Then I came back at the age of 23. I did the conversion exam in Sri Lanka. I got my attorneys at law. I started off in the courthouse with one of the leading president's councils. Then I subsequently went in-house. And for a good 10 years now, I have been practicing on my own. And I'm happy to tell you that actually I've just signed a partnership agreement and about to launch my own law firm with my partners. So that's where I am now.
That is such a great news. Heartiest congratulations to you, Samantha.
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck. Now coming back to the journey. So, UK, Sri Lanka, and at the age of 23, you told me, you came back. I will not ask you about your most memorable case, but I would really like to ask you any memorable incident that, that is still there fresh in your memories, and any key takeaways from there?
I think the thing is, I'm sure like any professional, we try to prepare as much as you can for a case or a hearing, or, even meeting a client. And then you are sometimes completely taken off guard. So a memorable case or event was when I had to represent my client with regard to a housing scheme matter. And the dispute was between a mother and daughter with regard to the title of that particular property. And the dispute arose because the mother had gifted the property to the daughter, and unknown to the daughter had revoked the gift. So it was not clear to whom the title belonged. So because the housing scheme was going to be sold to a developer, and both sort of wanted sort of the consideration that was going to be given to each house, so to speak, we had to have like a soft arbitration. So it wasn't a very formal one; it was an informal one, and I represented the daughter, and the mother had her own representative. What was most unique about this matter is that I always practice law in English. I'm most conversant in English. I have never had to revert to Sinhalese, which is the language spoken mostly in Sri Lanka. So I went expecting to speak in English. And of course, it started off in English, and I don't know how it happened, but everyone started speaking in Sinhala. It was a soft arbitration. It wasn't a very formal one. And of course, I could have been like, look, can we revert back to English? It would have been fine. But I felt that it would have hindered my case in a way, and I didn't want to make the others feel uncomfortable. So I was forced to revert to Sinhalese. And I thought, okay, let me give this a go. And we sort of had most of the arbitration Sinhalese. And I was very surprised because we did come to an amicable settlement. And even my client was really happy because she was convinced that this would actually end up in the courtroom and it would not actually be settled in that arbitration. So that was a very unique experience.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's by far the best case or the transaction that I've ever heard. So amazing. Perfect. Samantha, now your specializations are corporate company and IT law matters, right? That's a specialization. So how do you look at corporate law in 2021, and how do you think it's going to change maybe, let's say, 5 years down the line? I know there's a pandemic going on and we never know what lies ahead for this particular year as well, but just your views on it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question to be asked in 2021, since we are more than 1 year into the pandemic. And as you correctly said, the pandemic has changed everything, including law and corporate law, of course. So what I feel is, and even now, Sri Lanka, we have introduced video conferencing in the courtroom, and how I feel is going to change most is in terms of technology and how it's being used, not only in the courtroom, even in having a law firm. We are now not restricted or seen in a different way if you have a virtual law firm. I've seen some law firm websites in other countries where it's only virtual. Generally, I think in a country like Sri Lanka, we would have a hybrid system. So if you want, you can interact completely online, or you can meet the lawyer as well. So I feel the use of technology, the internet, all that is going to really change the whole course of law in general.
All right. Thank you so much, Samantha. And as you rightly said, technology has just not changed like things, in Sri Lanka. I would like to say the same for India as well. We never thought, and even forget about me, I'm a layman, like I have nothing to do with it. But at the same time, when I talk to lawyers and, honorable judges, so they are like, still surprised and shocked at the same time that, this happened and only pandemic could do it. All right. Okay. Moving on with the data protection and IT law. So what inspires you personally about data protection and IT law in general?
Yeah. To just give you a brief history as to how I got into data protection IT law was when our very own Bar Association of Sri Lanka conducted a weekend, like a program weekend, where the ABA, the American Bar Association, was doing a weekend for a select few lawyers. And we were being educated on privacy and data protection, etc. So I was curious, just out of curiosity, I applied and I was accepted into that program. And we had this full-on weekend where we had speakers from other countries who came and really gave us a very comprehensive education in this area. I found it fascinating because it was something completely new to me. This was a good couple of years ago. And then we were asked to write an article for about the Bar Association Journal, like a special journal connected to the Bar Association and the ABA, where we all had to write an article on a topic that we had learned, privacy, data protection, etc. So I did that, and I enjoyed doing the research and all of that. And that was that. And when I showed it to a particular family friend, they were just like, look, you need to send this to the Daily FT. The Daily FT of Sri Lanka is the business newspaper, and sort of it's widely circulated. And I was so happy that once I sent it to the editor, he was very warm and welcoming and agreed to feature it in his newspaper. So that was the start of my writing. And because I got some good feedback from that one article, I thought I would continue to sort of research this area and write a few more articles. So it was solely on this program which persuaded me to research this topic and created an interest within me. And I was able to share, and then the feedback also helped. What I love about this area of law, IT law, data protection, cybersecurity, it's all sort of interconnected, is a complexity. I mean, the internet is obviously, across all countries, and it's just there. However, because it spans across different countries, jurisdictions which have different laws, it gets slightly complex in the way it's interpreted and in the way each country sort of brings about their laws. For example, a good example is the GDPR. The GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation, one of the most prominent laws in data protection, and this is in the EU. GDPR is in the EU. Now, even though it is the EU law, if someone outside of the EU, like for example, myself, if I'm having an entity in Sri Lanka and I take data from another, from someone in the EU, I'm compelled to follow the GDPR law. So for the first time, I think there's a cross-border sort of compulsion to follow another jurisdictional law. So I find this sort of complexity fascinating, and I feel the dynamic it brings to the table is very exciting. And even things like blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI, artificial intelligence is going to need a lot of understanding and bringing the right laws, because we'll have the software developer, we'll have the client, we'll have everybody wanting laws that suits them. But the reality is we have to have the correct law in order to protect the people, because technology can just explode, as we know. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Samantha, for throwing light on the data protection and IT law. At the same time, I was wondering that I should have added that apart from being a law enthusiast, you're a tech enthusiast as well, because that is, very much evident. Moving on with what do you think that are the key concerns for lawyers in your country, in Sri Lanka? Of course, there must be a lot of challenges, like India faces a lot of things, and so anything that you would like to share about Sri Lanka?
Well, one thing I have discussed with others, and I've heard more senior lawyers discussing over the years, is the issue of language. As you know, we are a Commonwealth country, which means that we do follow English law, and we look at English cases. In Colombo, it would be safe to say that English is sort of spoken and people are comfortable with English. But in Sri Lanka as a whole, outside Colombo, English is not very fluently spoken or studied. So I feel the language issue, because, if you want to get sort of exposed to more cases, it's best that you look into even, we look at Indian cases, Singapore, English. So if you are restricted in terms of language, it is going to be an issue much more in the future than now, because it does limit the resources you are exposed to. So that's definitely one area that we really need to address. One thing we could do is translate as much as you can, but then how much does one translate into the local languages, Sinhalese and Tamil? So that's one issue. Secondly, there's a huge lag and delays in cases being taken. This is being addressed currently, but this is also an issue which we have had. But because the Minister of Justice is addressing it, I'm confident that we will overcome this challenge we've had in Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much, Samantha, yet again. Sadly, we are coming to an end of this beautiful conversation. But before I let you go, I would want you to give, an advice to the new graduates in law. So what would that be?
Well, because I have taught kids, and we have the gender topic is, Miss, what is it like to be a lawyer? And children or teenagers, they all feel that you have to be sort of quite vocal and be able to speak when you decide to be a lawyer. So I always tell them, look, there are two sides of being a lawyer. If you are comfortable speaking, definitely you can go to the courtroom. But law is a lot more than just being able to speak. So I always encourage them, you can always work in a law office, like a solicitor's firm, a law firm, or you can go in-house in a corporate. And, there's a lot of documentation which does not require speaking, obviously. Also, there's the academic angle, and law is a very fascinating subject to study in itself. So I would always encourage any law graduate, don't feel pressured to be good as a speaker, but look at other angles. Academia would include the sort of the forming laws. We are always looking for, we're always having law committees. We're trying to improve laws. So it's very challenging, intellectually challenging. So that would be my advice, to not restrict oneself to one area of the law in practicing law.
Thank you very much, Samantha, for sharing such great insights with us. And again, as I said, sadly, but we have come to an end of this interview. But we really look forward to having a chat with you again in the future on maybe some other trending topics in the international legal space. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Samantha, please like and share this video, and also subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do, and you have more coming from industry legal. This is Bharti for LexTalk signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.